Друзья, привет! Вторая часть Hand&Brain нашего с турнира в Амстердаме, Levitov Chess Week. Для тех, кто все пропустил, Hand&Brain это относительно новая игра, которая в последнее время становится довольно популярной. В качестве развлечения, конечно, в первую очередь, не думаю, что будут какие-то серьезные турниры по этой игре, но тем не менее, зрелище серьезное, зрелище эффектное, я бы даже сказал. В данном видео будут играть у нас две команды. Одна команда это Аронян, вторая команда это Крамник, Грищук. И это полуфинал. Борются они за выход в финал. Напоминаю правила. В каждой команде по два человека. Один человек это мозг, один человек это рука. Мозг называет фигуру, которую надо походить. Допустим, он говорит ладья. И рука должна определить, какой ладьей и куда пойти. Мысли игроков частенько в абсолютно разном направлении идут, поэтому тем интереснее смотреть. Данное видео у нас, друзья, с комментариями Юдит Полгар и Петра Свидлера. Ну, лучшие комментаторы мира, кто-то скажет. Так что я думаю, что вам понравится. Я уже говорил в первом видео о том, что я присутствовал в зале и получил большое удовольствие. Надеюсь, вы тоже получите. Приятного просмотра.
So, which game we are going to see next, the next
So
semi-final?
Sasha is the hand with Vladi as the brain against Wesley and
Aroняn,
and
but
Lev.
we don't see who
We
is
don't-
the
yeah, we-
hand and who is the brain. What do you think, which one would fit better in that team?
looks like Wesley is dictating the action and Lev is going to be playing.
I was wondering sometimes, you know, that this format of chess called hand and brain, but I would believe that actually it's two brain, and the brain who we call brain, it's brain, but actually the hand is more of a brain than hand.
That is true. Yeah, in a way, it's kind of trickier to be the hand.
It's hand,
because-
it's
because-
brain and
yeah,
brain
yeah,
versus
because
brain and brain.
There will
right?
be a lot of spots where the instruction isn't really all that clear, and you have to figure out what people want from you. Okay, we're getting-
Which role is easier, you think?
I think brain is probably easier.
Easier,
I think,
because
yeah,
the
I mean-
responsibility is on the other one.
The
Between
the
choosing.
responsibility is shared, but I think there's sort of more thinking involved when you're playing the hand. Was a Sicilian for a very hot second and is now a French.
It was
the
just a
meantime.
little bite for us that is going to be interesting, Sicilian, and this way it's going to be a closed.
It's interesting that
Knight.
something has okay now it's refreshed. Yeah, I was wondering if White actually decided not to play d4 there because it wasn't updating, but
But
this is
these guys are much more serious than you were.
yeah, there's no laughing there. Seemingly
No
they-
laughing.
yeah.
Suddenly they are very serious.
I think the announcement of the prize fund may have shaken up my confidence in people's good intentions.
Look at
I
how
think they
Wesley
are-
is thinking.
They have their eye on the prize there.
But it's funny because you see the faces and you can see that they are thinking sharp. How should which direction to go? Look, those guys also, how serious they are. How focused they are.
I disapprove severely. Yeah, this is.
Maybe
not-
they are going to get a penalty because the main
Yeah,
rule was
exactly.
that everybody should have fun.
Yeah.
And these guys act
Look at
if it's
them.
vacanze.
Look at them. It's disgraceful behavior. Whoa.
Pawn. So this was the big question.
Yeah,
now.
returning to the game for a second. Yeah.
Wow, look at that. D takes c5. It's a
Yeah.
commitment.
Bishop c5, bishop d3. I think already played. Yeah. It makes sense because White kind of got into a situation.
Do you
where the
think
pawn-
Kramnik is good in these kind of positions?
Kramnik is good at
Every position.
any kind of position, particularly if you ask Kramnik, of course, but also objectively. Yeah.
Okay, time to exchange the f3 knight. So the
Yeah,
e5
knight b2
can
will be
be-
played, as we can see on the screen. I'm tempted to say White is a little bit better, but it's probably quite balanced.
Will g5 appear on the board in this game?
At some point.
What about this point?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I mean, you're sitting next to the wrong person
Yeah.
not to play this.
no, I agree. I agree entirely. And probably this is maybe the last moment when you can do this because you probably are not going to be able to. In particular, if the trade. Okay, so he goes knight g6, which I think is very, very decent because I think White will struggle to find good work for both of their knights. So leaving only one pair of knights on the board would have made White's development easier.
Well,
And
with
also-
these positions, it's always a big challenge, right? Where to put if you have two knights, it can be.
Yeah, knight b3,
They-
queen e2, knight b2, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
I think the important part, another important part about playing knight g6 is that we've taken away the f4 square from the bishop on c1, which might be very useful for the future. Yeah, but like the lack of banter is just is making me very, very fearful for the future of humanity. Like, there hasn't been a single word exchange. They've been playing for 3 minutes. What is this? Disqualify them all. Put us.
This
put
way
us
you
in
get
the
into the
Put
final.
us in the final, yeah.
Well, nowadays there are all kinds of ways to get into the
Exactly,
final, right?
yeah. And this is clearly ours. Yeah.
Here is the moment.
Yeah.
Oops. Knight b3, bishop b6, rook e1. Very typical play, right, in this kind of situations.
And it seems like queen b8 was chosen. Yeah, queen b8, queen e2. And finally, interesting that he goes queen b8. I guess he wants to preserve the option of playing bishop c7.
Bishop c7, right?
to
To
put
really
additional
put
pressure
all
on.
the pressure from all sides.
And I think he said king, and yeah, we can't really see that part of the board from this view angle, but yeah,
And
you would
castle
assume,
is on the
yeah,
board.
You would assume they would castle, yeah.
Knight.
Knight b4,
Time-wise,
very
look at that.
logical,
They
yeah.
are very similar. Just few seconds difference. Very balanced game, I must say.
Yeah, no, I mean, just, yeah, completely breaking the spirit of the event. Yeah, like, making actual good chess moves. Like, what is this?
Look at Grищuk. Look at Grищuk, really. What's the question?
Finally, there's some.
Rook.
I think
Well, he said bishop, and he's,
Bishop.
and he's asking if Vlad wants bishop d8. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the problem is maybe after bishop. No.
No,
I thought
bishop
bishop
c7,
7, knight b5
right?
might work, but knight takes e5 works, right? I think maybe this is why he wasn't
Bishop
so eager.
c5. I think after knight b5, he wants to go back to d8, maybe.
And we can take on e5, can't we? Knight
But
G,
bishop g6.
maybe?
With the knight, sorry.
With the knight, yeah.
Yeah,
This,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is what I was.
Well, with the knight, I don't know if, or the other one you
Bishop,
won because
yeah.
of this,
Ah,
right?
yeah, we might get mated, yeah.
I don't know. It's just the first thing I have to
Yeah,
check.
always,
I'm not
yeah.
sure it works at all, but
Yeah.
maybe it's simpler simply to go
Maybe
with the
C,
other
yeah,
knight,
maybe.
right?
C, but then we don't have knight takes f3 checks. I have to calculate again, yeah. We have bishop takes h2 though. Knight, yeah, okay. He said knight, and now Lev will actually calculate knight b5 for a bit. But I assume he'll take on c6.
Well,
in
actually,
the
there is
end.
not much of an option if it's knight.
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
no
knight b5 or
other
knight
option,
c6.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, but
that-
knight c6, you don't really want to do that.
I'm not sure. I think this is very playable. You just go
B4?
h4 here.
h4.
Yeah, just go h4. I mean, f6.
So, I don't
the
know,
question is
F6.
f6, but yeah.
Knight c6 on the board.
Yeah, I thought Lev will be practical,
Well,
yeah, and he goes h4.
And it's right there.
Yeah.
You know these guys so well. And the
Well,
position.
yeah, it makes sense. I think it like entirely depends on how strong f6 is, because if we don't play f6 here as black, I think we actually legitimately get mated quite quickly. h5, h6
But
will
I'm
come.
not sure. They have good nerves. What about, what about playing pawn?
Yeah, he'll
F6,
play
of course.
f6.
Of
He'll
course,
play
F6. F6 is on
And,
the
and
board.
now it becomes interesting, because you can take on g6 and pretend you have the structure under control, like bishop g6 take, put the bishop on f4, and pretend you have this grip on the central structure. But black is also, I'm guessing, not that unhappy after something like c6, c5 here. He gets a
It's a very interesting position, by the way.
interesting
Very
position,
huge
yeah.
tension in the center.
Yeah, or we can go e takes f6 in the current position and try to prove that we have something here somehow. Yeah,
Bishop.
But yeah, he's gone for the more solid option.
The Wesley way.
The Wesley, one, exactly. Yeah. Now the question is, can we burn a tempo to prevent c5 somehow? But I don't think we can, right? Like b4 doesn't really look right. 'Cause I think I would like to play both before and bishop f4 in one move if I could, but
I think in many times when it's French, if you play two moves,
yeah,
just
you're-
game over.
yeah. Yeah, but bishop f4
Bishop.
is
Very
more solid,
positioner,
yeah.
guys. Look at that. They just want to
And
control.
I assume c5 is coming. Yeah.
Pawn. Obviously not f takes e5, what
No,
Kramnik
maybe
has in
a5,
mind.
but I think c5 is more logical. Yeah. It's. I think the choice is strictly between c5 and a5 if you're being told pawn in this position.
And c5 is on the board.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that the players are quiet, so the audience is also kind of scared that they cannot talk.
Yeah.
Suddenly, everybody became very serious. Bishop, so bishop g3 probably
Yeah, sort
securing
of,
the bishop.
you're
Also
securing
maybe
the
trying to
exactly, yeah.
exchange in the next.
Hinting that you have to calculate the f6 everywhere. Yeah. You're not maybe threatening it yet, But you're definitely kind of reminding black that this might happen. Also, I guess maybe queen d3 is a bit of an awkward move to
Trying to provoke
trying
f5.
to provoke f5 or bishop b8 or some kind of other awkward response.
Well, but first after bishop g3, black has to come up with some reply. I'm not sure Kramnik is very happy with the position. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure he is. Yeah, he's.
The
I think-
time balance is very similar, only half a minute, so they are keeping that in mind. Do you think it's a good way of splitting hand and brain in Kramnik's case with Gryszczuk? So when they go down under a minute, Gryszczuk will take over.
I think that's probably right, judging on form in this tournament. Maybe because Vladi, I think, even lost a couple of games on time here. He's not been like
The other tournament,
yeah,
what
in
you're
the,
playing.
in the other tournament. Yeah.
Well, I also think that in Gryszczuk's case, I mean, he is the most famous in the chess world by far, going down in time, not in such a time control, but in classical time control as well, and playing at least as good as if he would have time, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was kind of a very logical approach.
So pawn was suggested, and yeah, I was wondering.
But I saw the face expression of Gryszczuk, and he was kind of surprised. Did I see well, you think?
Yeah, he was a bit, I think,
Intended maybe
uncomfortable.
queen b5 or something
Queen b5,
else?
queen c2 is still annoying, and
Yeah.
also even queen takes b5
Takes
and the
and the
f6
f6.
was quite annoying. I
Yeah.
thought, yeah. Just briefly, we don't. Things are moving on. Yeah, I think queen c2 was probably the choice. Yeah, Wesley and Levon combining with the same idea, but not letting the pawn on b2 out of their sight. And now kind
Can
of an
black
uncomfortable
go-
decision for black. You have
Can
to
I go
choose.
king f7? What do you think? With a crazy idea. Sorry.
I'm very worried about h5 and then ef. It might not
And on
work, but I'm
h7
very
something,
worried
right?
about something landing on h7, ef, bishop g3, even just fg. And then
No,
you
I
are-
had in mind generally to capture
Yeah, but
back.
this is why I included
once
h5 so
yes,
early, yeah.
because
this is
you
why I
see things
included
ahead.
h5, yeah.
Quite a
Bishop
bit.
was called, and now you have to play bishop e8.
Well, there's no other.
Why so slow, huh?
Such a panic for some reason.
Yeah.
Such a panic, said Vladimir.
Yeah, Vladi is criticizing the amount of time. But I guess because Sasha doesn't like ef6 and he is trying to figure out what he's going to do if ef6 happens. Because just ef, bishop g3, fg, and the 6 is hanging.
No, guessing game.
Guessing game.
Yeah.
You know, bishop
But
g3,
Christopher
fg, and
A5
you have to.
Yeah, it's a problem that black cannot capture with the pawn because the e6 pawn is under attack. But here probably fg. Right?
fg, rook f3.
Rook
fg would have just been winning, but
Yeah.
rook f3.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's
after
interesting that
takes,
I think pawn was
takes.
called, and it hasn't been
Takes.
played in. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because maybe he's not sure. He thinks that maybe he can just play, I don't know. Well,
No, but that gives-
h5 or what? What else to consider?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Levin
He's
is very
actually gone
serious.
b3 here. Yeah, he just declined all of that.
But this
Very
is a
interesting.
surprising decision, right?
Yeah, it is. Because
I
now, for instance,
wonder
we
what
can go-
Wesley will say he
Yeah.
had in mind, but probably F.
Yeah.
No? Or C4. That's also possible. Maybe.
Rook a6 is something that I'm very attracted to, just to further
Nice.
support
I
the
always
pawn on
love
a6.
these moves which
Yeah,
show
yeah.
the power of the rook.
And I want to be
horizontally.
able to reply to ef with gf.
Bishop
Bishop,
Yeah.
bishop. Vladimir loves bishops, let's face it.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he.
So
really-
maybe this is a draw for if, let's say, it will be takes, and rook e6, for example.
No, we
Right?
have given fg now.
Ah, now
we have
FG is
actually
a
given
problem.
white the option of fg.
Ooh.
But maybe ef we can go. Yeah. This is your draw offer, yeah. Bishop f7 now.
Well, bishop f7 takes and rook e6,
Mhm,
right?
mhm, Yeah.
Oops, sorry about that. Let's see,
Bishop
where is
f7,
this?
we take on f6. Let's say black takes with the pawn, and we
Yeah.
just go rook e6.
Yeah,
And it looks very pretty, but it's just a perpetual there. I don't think there's any follow-up that is more than a perpetual here.
a silent kind of draw for, but this will be not the case.
No. Queen
No.
d2
White has
play,
completely
yeah.
different ideas in this position.
Yeah.
You don't get such a beautiful positional advantage.
Yeah, white still needs to figure out a way to make progress. Queen d2 is a kind of a clever move because I think he wants to be able to meet a4 with b4. so that the queen side remains.
But okay,
comfortably
basically this is
close-ish.
what black has to look after, right? And they are go down in time, so it's under 2.5 minutes, both teams.
Yeah, and Jan in the background says king and then bishop, obviously indicating king h7 followed by bishop g8 to really
Okay, but maybe king h8 is better, bishop
h7
g8,
already-
bishop h7
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
to
That
leave
is-
the
that-
space for the
But unfortunately, Sasha did not read that intention, so he played king h7, yeah.
Okay.
Played king h7. Yeah, and the question for white is how do you make progress? It's a very beautiful position to look at, but you still have to find a way
Yeah,
to...
it's interesting that basically EF, GF, and black is kind of completely surviving, and was opponent's
Yeah, and
center, right?
If black gets to play e5, it's just such a change in
Queen e3,
Queen E3.
extremely positional.
Yeah. Not really committing to anything just yet. Maybe you want knight h2, knight g4, but
Wow,
maybe
so
in
positional.
some. Oh, and yeah, and there we have it. Yeah, knight h2. We
But
might
it's a
even
classic
be
game.
threatening EF, GF, knight g4. So
Very
black has to-
instructive game.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want EF and knight g4 and have something
yeah,
on
yeah.
h6, right? So
Lending-
pinpoint the drawback of the
Yeah,
king on it.
and
h7.
black is finally committing.
Action time,
committing to
counterplay.
Counterplay, takes. Queen d2 back, interesting. I was looking at some other squares. I thought queen f3 was maybe not that stupid, but I like the queen on this diagonal. I'm not going to criticize.
So the question is if this d4 will be a real pass pawn or a weak one.
Rather, yeah, it's probably
So rook d8 can
rook
black
d8,
go
queen
rook
b4
d8?
as well. Yeah, this is why I was also wondering
Queen b4, look at that, great
Yeah.
counterplay suddenly.
why we've chosen this square, because on f3 it would have been quite difficult to attack that queen, and on d2 we continue giving black.
But white went down to 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Oh, okay, so we will get to actual blitz pretty soon, yeah, because if they go down to below a minute,
Yeah.
the brains switch off and the hands take over.
Yes.
Still quite annoying for black, right? We
Well, it's not so easy, yeah. I mean, now also h5 is in the air. At the same time, at least the queen is off from this diagonal, so after knight g4, there's no tactical mating threat.
yeah, but that's, I mean, that bishop on f7, it does a very decent defensive job, but it's just such a horrid
Pawn.
piece, yeah.
What does that
Pawn,
supposed
yeah.
to mean? Is it
I
a4?
guess a4, yeah. I guess he doesn't believe he's getting mated, but it looks like he might be. I don't know.
Well, it's kind of Vladimir's optimism.
Yeah, f5, yeah, finally
Even
played
if their time
f5.
goes up back to a
F5,
minute.
look at that. And after knight f3, what he has in mind? The pawn is under attack. Knight g5 will show up.
I guess everything looked bad, so he...
Okay, so
Bishop d8. Just giving up on d4 so that the knight doesn't land on g5. That's very uncomfortable.
bishop f4. What a
Lev
what a clear-
is such a
It just
such a
wants to go
classical
bishop
chess
g5.
player, yeah. Are we down to... Oh, yeah, okay. He's below... Looks like he might be below a minute. This
Yes, now it's Aroнян finishing the game against Gryщук. The hands take over.
Yeah. Yeah, white is obviously much better, but game isn't over yet. If the bishop on f7 somehow... If you imagine the same position the bishop that is currently on f7 is on d5, black is just instantly completely
Yeah,
fine, even if...
yeah, that's a different game
Yeah,
called
even if,
Dama,
let's say,
right?
yeah, even
Then you jump over.
yeah. But what I mean is, even let's say if the pawn on d4 is dead by that point, you still kind of feel that black has enough. I like rook a3 though, trying to provoke knight takes d4 and then play bishop b6. This is still not
Yeah,
so
and
easy
if
for
this
white.
after taking the b4, bishop b6, it can get some activity.
Yeah, and Lev declines actually. Lev says no, I have to protect my stuff for a bit longer. Rook b1, king g8, rook ec1. Yeah, that is a good file for your rooks, so it makes perfect sense. To
But
keep-
actually, it shows very much the style of Aroнян, right? That like grinding the
grinding, and
opponent.
also really, I think not only he, but many strong players have this real taste for not allowing any counterplay if they can help
Yeah,
it.
it's very painful for the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
side.
Yeah, because you want
Well,
to
you were
allow...
never someone who wanted to be passive. I mean, just to start with your Grunfeld,
Yeah, yeah, I've
activity is
I
like a
built
heartbeat.
yeah, I built my repertoire and
Around
my
that
whole
approach.
chess style around trying not to have passive positions. I have not always succeeded, but it was definitely a conscious decision I took quite early on.
It's interesting what you're saying, that is it possible to take conscious decision on your style?
To a degree, you can't guarantee results, which is exactly what I mean. Like you can't really ensure that you will never have to play positions you really hate, but you can try to develop a repertoire which will minimize those positions. And it was easy for me because like I was a huge Kasparov fan when I was a kid, and building as much of my repertoire on his repertoire gave me sort of the best of both worlds. I was following somebody I really admired, and also his style suited what I thought were my strength pretty well. So.
Now the players are under 20 seconds, so it's going to be a big fight, and you can see.
Yeah, we should.
Kramnik is also looking.
Yeah,
can we save it? Look nervous.
Yeah.
But
Bishop
Black
F8
is
94
struggling,
is quite.
but going.
Hang on, E5 is hanging.
Takes, right?
You still have to.
Wow, it's getting extremely fast for us.
Yeah,
too.
the board seems to struggle to catch up to what they're doing, but. So
yeah,
he
B5 pass pawn
the
is
bishop
the
on
power.
E8 is still.
This is not
passive,
something Black can be proud of,
Yeah.
and
Rook
we hear
E4,
the
I
big
guess.
noise hitting the clock.
Yeah, but isn't B6 just winning now? Is my problem with this is that you have to play.
Yes,
but then even
and
Rook
that's
C8,
how
it's
it
even a
goes.
queen now. It's not even an exchange. It's just a queen. And seems like. Yeah, and
So game
Vlad
over.
appears to be quite unhappy with some of the decisions.
Well, this shows also that, professionals, no matter how much it's about fun, we always come up with a better solution and what went wrong, and why did you do this, why not the other one, what you had in mind, right? It's always like
they
that.
will not. And of course, there was much less of that recriminations when we finished our game, but we were clearly taking it a much less, serious way than these four guys. And they played an actual serious game of chess, so clearly they have strong opinions about it, and you can see them now discussing.
Because
what happened.
at some point it was very interesting, right? When strategically this happened after B takes E's, very much in the opening, right? This structure was very interesting, and the tension was there all the time. Whether can Black make some activity, or can Black avoid E takes F6 having a disadvantage? And this is around this we had the big battle.
Yeah, and eventually, if you actually succeed in provoking F6, F5, which ended up happening, then Black will suffer. And maybe they had some chances to save the endgame that they got, but it's quite unclear. I think
But
a
we
very
can-
nicely played game by Wesley and Lev.
Yeah, actually they are a very strong pair from this point of view, and you can see that the players are really analyzing deeply on the game what went wrong positionally. I'm sure Vladimir has very strong opinion. Of course, he's one of the greatest positional player in time, and we can see the analysis.
Yeah, they're debating. I guess this is the point where Sasha panicked and played a5, and they're discussing whether it could have been held by allowing the knight to g4. And clearly
maybe
a
the
very
only move
strong-
is bishop g8.
Yeah,
after
they're
all.
actually suggesting to play bishop g8, which cannot be a queen e7, and then something like this.
Yeah, but I think also that these kind of things, Vladimir would be scared. He's going mostly in positional way because maybe he doesn't like when they attack. What do you think about that? How many of the top players can handle and was not extremely panicking when someone attacked their king? Because, for example, with Gary, once I had extremely straight strategy for me when I played in Linares and it was successful, that I knew that he's just hating if somebody's attacking him. It cost me 2 pieces to keep my strategy, I have to say. But I know that he was sweating, and actually I made the draw. What do you think? Like, what about you? Were you worried, or you were just okay to handle when they were attacking?
I've never really enjoyed it. It didn't I don't think I dropped sort of 2 degrees of strength when under attack, but I was always searching for ways to kind of fight for me, sacrificing material was much more comfortable throughout my career rather than taking material. So, you have to go back to maybe historic examples, like, I don't know, Victor is maybe the one person that I think will be very high on anybody's list when you're talking about somebody who was pretty comfortable being under pressure, being under attack.
You mean Viktor Korchnoi?
Korchnoi, yeah. He was, I think, pretty much from the very early stages of his career, he was very okay.
Do you think,
grabbing
is there
something and defending.
can you name any player who is actually playing even stronger when he's under pressure?
I don't know, Vishy maybe, but Vishy also didn't really like being. I just think that Vishy is a fantastic defender. But from my personal experience, yeah, when I got good positions against him, when I got initiatives against him in my career, he didn't like. He played very well, but he didn't like it. It was very clear he didn't like it. He still defended fantastically. It didn't really impact his, execution of his skills, but yeah, he wouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah, this is what I feel and I experience. And when I talk to youngsters, I tell them that you can look the top players, the top 10, 20, maybe 30, that when there is a choice to go and try to defend passively or sacrifice a pawn with initiative, it's like 99%.
Yeah.
Do you agree on this?
Yeah, I think the split will be tremendously in favor of any kind of.
But is it
activity.
psychological, or this is how chess has to be played?
I think a little bit of both. I think we're actually moving towards understanding that material balance is not everything, and you can see it in all areas of chess, because, like, even in opening theory, you now see variations which. Like, people would play, let's say, 20 years ago, but everybody would nod and say, yeah, this is a complete gamble, there's no way this is any good. You're just doing it because you trust your ability to navigate very messy positions. And now you analyze it with strong engines, and they just say, yeah, you're okay here.
I just wanted to ask and go further on this, and it's good that you brought up the engines, because with AlphaZero, I think that was the first time when it became extremely clear that it had this idea, what all top grandmasters have, that just sacrificing a pawn, it doesn't mean that I'm very generous. It means that I like initiative, and maybe not in the 5 moves. Immediately
Very
we'll
long
see.
term, very long term.
Yeah, but actually humans don't make on such a long term the sacrifices, I believe.
Yeah.
How much do you think, because I felt that actually there was a Norway Chess, just the next Norway Chess after AlphaZero came out and the book, and I felt that Magnus specifically got inspired by AlphaZero. Do you have the same take, or do you think top grandmaster got inspired by that?
I wouldn't, specifically point out Magnus as an example, but I think everybody got very impressed by, like, that, in particular, that batch of games that everybody was talking about, those Queen's Indians, where it would just play for like tens of moves, not really even threatening anything at first, and continuing just to build up pressure, and completely ignoring the fact that it was down a bunch of material very often, like not even a pawn, but like more than a pawn very often. I think it impressed everybody. I don't know. I think Magnus, once again, I don't know how true that is, but I had a very definite feeling then that in preparation for his match against Fabi, he felt that, in particular compared to what Sergei was doing against him in New York, it will be a much more open, a much more tactically impacted match. And he made a conscious effort to sort of, in the year preceding their match, he made a conscious effort to play sharper openings, to play sharper lines in general, to kind of force himself to play messy tactical positions, because not because he was better at them, he was never better at them. He is not really bad at any aspect of chess, but I think his natural inclination is to control. He doesn't really like being out of control. And that informed his opening choices, that informed his stylistic choices. And then I think around like 2017, 2018, he suddenly started playing like open Najdorfs with white, and playing like he played Bishop G5 randomly.
So is Magnus, you think, extremely good in putting himself out of control in order to improve his chess?
That was my impression. I never really asked him about it. I don't know if it was a conscious decision. Maybe I'm talking out of my, but that was.
But it's a very interesting thought, I think.
Yeah, that was definitely the impression I got, that at some point he flicked the switch, and chose a whole other way of approaching tournament games, and maybe wasn't even as successful for a bit as he was until then, because I think in positions where things are under control, his edge over the field maybe is bigger. But it made him maybe a more complete player, and that's always an investment that even for somebody who is as obviously good as Magnus, even for him, I think that was an investment very much worth making. But once again, I never had this conversation.
But do you
with
have the
him,
feeling
so-
that he's doing something like this because he needs to keep his number one spot, or because he's so interested at the time defending his title and he has to do it in order to keep his number one and world championship spot?
I think he just generally, I think the idea of becoming a better chess player kind of interests him. So I suspect he maybe would have been doing it regardless of who he was playing, but it seemed to coincide with Fabi qualifying for the match. So in my mind, those things were at least somewhat connected, but I don't know.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It was a great pleasure to annotate with you, commentate with you. It's always a pleasure, and also
It's
to
always
get your thoughts.
always great seeing you.
Thanks
and,
very
yeah,
much.
Enjoyed this, but there will be, I think, more guests coming in at some point.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll vacate the premises and go watch and.